Hey there, and welcome back to episode 2 of jackmullally.com discussions. This time we're going to be talking about the sport of bike trials. I'm going to be introducing you to what it is and why I find it so fascinating and why you might like to give it a go. Before I get into that, I thought I'd share you a thought from the first episode. So if you've watched the first episode, you'll notice that my approach to filming has changed this time. In the first episode I tried to film it completely as a selfie, and I learned a lesson from that, which is great. The lesson that I learned was, if you're going to film something as a selfie, make sure you hold your hand high enough so you get a good position of the camera relative to your face. My arm got pretty tired, and you'll see that by the end of that episode, the camera's kind of dragging down here somewhere. But anyway, different approach to filming this time, and we'll see how it goes. So, what is the sport of bike trials? Well look, I first became aware of bike trials when I was about 13. So my brother, Tim, from Expressive Bikes, had been mountain biking for quite a number of years at that point, and he'd started to dabble in trials, and he had some trials videos, and he also bought a second mountain bike, a small mountain bike, for him to practice trials on. But he also started taking me out mountain biking, which is really cool. Then when I turned 13, I think Tim must have been in uni at this stage, or maybe even close to moving out of home. And my parents were kind enough to buy me a mountain bike. And the store we bought it from held shop rides at the time, both mountain biking and trials. As it happens, the first shop ride that we went on, both Tim and I, was a mountain bike ride, and Tim managed to break his front tooth within 5 minutes of the ride starting. But as you can tell, it didn't put us off, because we ended up going on a bunch of trials rides and we got more and more interested in it. Now before I go any further, I'll briefly tell you what trials is. So trials is a form of riding where you try and ride a bike over the hardest obstacles you can without putting your feet down or without crashing, obviously. And it's a very slow speed sport. It's a very precise form of riding that's punctuated by some really explosive moves to get up onto obstacles without a lot of speed or momentum. Now I recognise that although that's a really accurate description of what trials is, if you haven't seen it before, you probably don't have a clue what I'm talking about. So I'm going to grab my helmet and show you a few moves on my backyard setup behind me. Cool. Sorry, chickens. Look, so there you go. Really brief introduction to what trials is on the bike. If you want to see more, sorry, I managed to make myself slightly out of breath there. If you want to see more, stick the word bike trials into Google or YouTube, and you can see heaps of cool videos. So, where was I in the story? Yeah, got my own mountain bike, started out going on shop rides, even some trials rides, but I wasn't really a full-on trials rider. In 2002, I had the good fortune to go to the Australian National Trials Championships, which were in Thredbo, and National Mountain Biking Championships, racing cross country, and the Trials Nationals were held at the same time. And I was amazed to find that the best riders in the country were all effectively my age. Like, I was 15 at the time, and the best guys were either 16 or 17. One of them, Andrew Dickey, has won more national championships now than you can count, and he's still riding. And I was just like, wow, these guys are essentially the same age as me, winning nationals. Like, I love doing this thing, I've got to get into it. So within a couple of months of coming back from Thredbo, I had a trials bike and I was hooked. And I've been 99% trials rider since then and 1% mountain biker. So, what was it about trials that hooked me so completely? There's a few things. Probably the main thing at that time was that trials is really accessible to anyone, but particularly good for, teenagers. So I'd been mountain biking, but I didn't live particularly near to any mountain biking trails, which meant, at most I could mountain bike once a week. My parents were great that they'd drive me out to the trails and that sort of thing, but practicalities of life, that's still only going to mountain bike once or twice a week. Trials, however, the entire world's an obstacle, within reason, right? We've got to show some respect to what we ride on, but within reason, the whole world is an obstacle. And that's great when you're in school, because you can come home after school, grab your bike, you can ride on the curb outside your house, you can ride at the park, you've got stuff everywhere that you can ride on. So for me it was great, and I had a few friends that were into BMX, and we'd go out riding together, and we'd find stuff that suited both of us and muck around. So it was really cool in that respect. Number 2 thing that hooked me was probably that trials skills really transfer well across to mountain biking. The precision, the balance, the control, all of that sort of stuff transfers really well across and improves mountain biking skills. In the time that I've been riding trials, I've been riding trials for 12 or 13 years now, I've been fortunate enough to see a whole bunch of people start trials, a whole bunch of people start mountain biking, and even a few people start trials, then start mountain biking when they never mountain biked before. And it's really interesting to see that those people, or people who are mountain biking and practicing trials, pick up the fundamentals of balance and control on their mountain bike so much quicker because of what they're doing on the trials bike. So for me, when I was first mountain biking and then dabbling in trials, it was really great, because I was dabbling in trials and go out mountain biking, might be riding some North Shore stuff, and be applying the trials skills across onto that to allow me to ride bigger and better stuff, but also to keep me safe on stuff. And that's probably the third reason. Trials teaches you skills in terms of how to safely crash on a bike in order to preempt when things aren't going great and safely jump off. People always ask me, have you had any really big crashes? You must have had heaps of injuries. And I'm like, not really. I've had a couple of stitches in my legs when I didn't wear shin pads, and that's it. Whereas I have had worse injuries riding my bike to the train station. I broke my jaw riding to the train station, and yet I've only ever had stitches from riding trials. And it's because trials is quite slow speed, and it teaches you these skills in how to crash. And the fourth thing that's always kept me hooked on trials is that there's always something to keep you interested. So, mountain biking's great, like a whole bunch of stuff's great, but I'm not the sort of person who is interested in going out and doing the same thing every time, doing the same ride or the same run. For me, I'm always in need of something new, and trials scratches that itch, because there's always a slightly harder line or a slightly bigger move or something to that effect for you to strive for and to practice. So trials is always completely different. Look, so there we go. As you can tell, I hope you can tell, I'm very much a trials addict. 12 years in, I'm obviously really passionate about this stuff. And I hope I've been able to give you a bit of an insight into both what the sport is, really briefly. If you want to know more about that, as I say, stick it into Google, you'll find a whole heap of cool videos. And also why I do it, and why you might want to get into it and give it a try, even on your mountain bike. So, that's it for now. Episode 3 is already online, and that's about how to get into trials on a mountain bike, what you can and can't do on a mountain bike, and that sort of thing. And there's lots that you can do. So check out episode 3. If you want to know more about what we're doing at jackmullally.com, you can check out my Facebook page. Obviously like that, and you can keep up to date with all sorts of videos and podcasts and that sort of thing. You can also subscribe to our YouTube page, leave a comment, and get involved. Cool. That's it for episode 2 of jackmullally.com discussions, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.